I heard this story from someone called Shragi. Shragi was listening to a shiur from Rav Ephraim Waxman about someone who used to drive to Manhattan every day, and every day he faced Nisyonus in Shmiras Einayim. So he decided to make a Kabbalah to overcome the Nisoyan and give himself an incentive. He put a pushka in his car, and whenever he was in the Nisoyan and looked away from something he shouldn't be looking at, he put $1 in the pushka. Came Chanukah and he emptied the pushka and there was $2,000 in it. So he bought himself a beautiful silver menorah. That menorah was made from 2,000 times he'd successfully been omed b'nesoyan, 2,000 times he'd looked the other way, 2,000 times. He couldn't believe he'd done it. But on Hanukkah, the light that shone from that beautiful menorah testified to each and every moment that he'd chosen greatness, that he'd chosen control over instinct. Shragi loved the idea and decided he'd do something similar. He put a glass jar in his car, and whenever he was faced with a Nisoyan, whenever he took control over his eyes and he looked the other way, he put a quarter inside the jar. When Sukkot arrived, he took $40 from the quarters that he'd collected and bought himself the best Hadassim that money could buy. Chazal say that Hadassim represent the eyes. The Hadass has the same shape as the human eye. All through Sukkot, Shragi was Moli Simcha. He was filled with joy the whole Yom Tov with his special mitzvah. Those Hadassim that he'd bought with those 160 quarters represented 160 times that he turned away, 160 times he'd controlled himself, 160 times that he hadn't followed after his eyes and his desires. Every time he took up his lulav, a feeling of tremendous kedusha welled up inside him. Towards the end of Sukkot, Shragi started to feel a little sad that the mitzvah of the Hadassim was coming to an end. So he decided to follow what Chazal tell us, Chafatzim shenasu behem mitzvah, nasu behem mitzvah acheres. Objects that were used for a mitzvah, use them for another mitzvah. And so Shragi took the Hadassim and he used them as basomim for Motzi Shabbos, for Havdalah. Now, Shragi didn't really have a very nice basomim holder, just a small plastic container, so he decided he was going to buy a nice glass basomim holder. His in-laws had been in Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot, and when they got back, they called him up and asked him to bring the kids over. They'd got some presents for them. So they all went over, and the kids got t-shirts and all the other cute stuff. And then they turned to Shragi and said, Shragi, we've got you a gift as well. And they handed Shragi a beautifully wrapped package. He undid the wrapping, and inside was a black case. He opened it up, and inside was the most stunning crystal and silver basomim holder that he'd ever seen. The Eibishter doesn't always show us how choviv our mitzvahs are to him, but there are times when he gives us a divine smile, so to speak, when we are kovish our yetzes and when we work on ourselves. Every Motzi Shabbos, Shragi looks at that basomim holder and he has such a feeling of simcha from that constant reminder of how he rose up and dominated his yetzer and of the special gift that Hashem sent him.